Michael woke up to the heavy silence of a rainy morning. His head throbbed with dull pain, and his throat burned like sandpaper. The alarm buzzed beside his bed, but he didn't have the strength to move. His body felt weak, drained of all energy. He groaned, reached for his phone, and texted his manager. Not coming in today. Feeling sick. He thought staying home would be the best decision. A warm blanket, some medicine, and a quiet day to rest. But the house didn't feel peaceful. It felt different. From the moment he got up, Michael noticed little things that didn't make sense. The air inside the house was colder than usual, almost damp. His reflection in a mirror looked pale, but there was something else, a faint flicker behind him, like someone moving in the hallway. He turned quickly, but no one was there. He told himself it was just fever messing with his head. He made tea, took his pills, and sat on the couch, hoping to nap. The clock ticked slowly. The TV remote lay on the table, untouched, until the screen suddenly turned on by itself. Static filled the room, loud and sharp. Michael's heart raced. He picked up the remote and turned it off, blaming it on low batteries. Outside, thunder rolled, echoing through the walls. The lights flickered once, twice, and then steadied. He wrapped the blanket tighter and tried to close his eyes. But then he heard it, faint footsteps coming from the hallway. Soft, slow, almost hesitant. His eyes opened wide. The sound stopped the moment he moved. He stared at the dark corner near his bedroom door. Nothing. Silence. Michael whispered to himself, "It's just the fever. Just the fever." But deep down, he knew something wasn't right. Someone, or something, was in the house with him. By late afternoon, the rain had grown heavier, drumming against the windows like restless fingers. Michael sat slouched on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, trying to convince himself that the strange things earlier were just fever dreams. The house was quiet, too quiet. Even the usual hum of the refrigerator sounded distant, swallowed by the heavy air. He switched on the TV again to drown the silence, but after a few minutes, it flickered and froze. The screen glitched, showing static, then black. His reflection flashed briefly in the dark glass, but it didn't seem to move the same way he did. Michael stared for a second, then shook his head. "Get it together," he muttered, reaching for his cup of tea. But just as he lifted it, he heard a sound, faint, distant, but unmistakable. A whisper. It came from the hallway. Soft at first, like the rustle of fabric. Then clearer, low, and trembling, as if someone was trying to say his name. "Michael!" The cup slipped from his hands, shattering on the floor. Tea spread across the carpet like a dark stain. Michael's pulse quickened. "Who's there?" he called out, his voice cracking slightly. No reply, just the slow creak of the floorboards. He stood up, every muscle tense. The house felt alive, breathing with him. The whisper came again, this time closer. "Michael!" He took a cautious step toward the hallway, his bare feet touching the cold floor. The lights above him flickered, and for a split second, he saw something. A shadow moving past the edge of the doorframe. Heart pounding, he turned on all the lights, but the hallway was empty. Nothing but silence. Michael backed away slowly, whispering to himself, "It's just the fever. It's just the fever." But this time the whisper answered back, "No, it's not." The evening dragged on. The fever wasn't getting worse, but the fear was. Michael sat frozen on the couch, staring at the dim hallway that led to his bedroom. He didn't dare move. The whisper hadn't returned, but the air was thick with tension, like the calm before a storm. At 7:13 p.m., a sudden sound broke the silence. Creak. Michael's blood ran cold. It was his bedroom door, the same one he'd shut that morning, slowly opening on its own. Inch by inch, the hinges groaned as the darkness inside deepened. His breathing quickened. "No, no, that's just the air pressure. Just the air," he whispered. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. The rain outside stopped, leaving an eerie stillness. He could hear his own heartbeat, heavy and irregular. Gathering his courage, he grabbed his phone and switched on the flashlight. The beam shook in his trembling hand as he stepped toward the door. Each step echoed unnaturally loud on the floorboards. The light flickered across the walls until it fell upon the mirror inside his room. Tall, old, and standing directly across from the doorway. He stopped. In the mirror, he saw himself, pale, exhausted, holding the phone, but something was wrong. His reflection was smiling. Michael wasn't. He blinked hard, backing away slowly. The reflection kept smiling, wider and wider, teeth showing where there should be none. His stomach turned cold. The reflection tilted its head slightly, the exact opposite direction of Michael's movement. He gasped and stumbled backward, dropping his phone. The flashlight spun on the floor, throwing wild shadows across the walls. When he looked up again, the mirror was empty. His reflection was gone. Michael whispered in a trembling voice, "What's happening to me?" Then, from the empty darkness of the mirror, a soft whisper echoed back. "You finally came back." Michael locked himself in the bathroom, his breath coming fast and uneven. His hands trembled as he turned on the sink and splashed cold water on his face. The chill helped, but only for a moment. He stared into the mirror above the sink, searching for something normal, something human, but all he saw was a pale, frightened man with fevered eyes staring back. He told himself over and over, "It's just the sickness. It's just the fever." But the memory of that smiling reflection refused to fade. It felt too real, too intentional. Trying to calm down, he decided to take a hot shower, thinking maybe the steam and warmth would help him relax. The room filled with mist, fogging the mirror completely. The soft sound of water was the only thing breaking the heavy silence. For a few minutes, he felt almost at peace, until he heard a faint tapping. Top, top, top. It came from behind the fog mirror. Michael froze. He turned off the water. Silence. Then, slowly, the steam began to clear. His heart stopped. On the mirror, written in dripping condensation, were 3 chilling words. "I missed you." Michael stumbled backward, slipping slightly on the wet tiles. "No, no, no," he whispered, staring wide-eyed at the message. He wiped at it with a towel, but the words didn't smear or vanish. They were inside the glass. The bathroom light flickered once. His reflection, or what looked like it, leaned closer from inside the mirror, whispering something he couldn't fully hear. He backed away toward the door, panic flooding through him. His shaking hand reached for the handle, but it wouldn't budge. It was locked. Behind him, the whisper became clearer, almost playful. "You shouldn't have left me, Michael." The lights went out completely, and the bathroom filled with the sound of faint laughter echoing from behind the mirror. Michael burst out of the bathroom, gasping for air as if he'd been drowning. His heart pounded violently in his chest. Every instinct told him to get out, leave the house, run, scream, but his body felt heavy, almost restrained by invisible hands. The air had changed again. It was thicker now, colder, and carried a faint, metallic scent like rust or blood. He stumbled into the living room, grabbing his phone to call someone, anyone, but the screen glitched. The numbers twisted, distorted into unreadable symbols before the phone died completely. The house hummed with a low vibration, an unnatural silence that made his ears ring. Then came the sound, slow, deliberate footsteps echoing down the hallway. Michael froze. His throat tightened. He didn't dare turn around. The steps stopped, right behind him. He could feel it, a presence standing inches away. The faint sound of breathing that didn't belong to him. His body shook as a drop of cold sweat rolled down his back. The lamp flickered once, casting shadows that danced across the walls. Summoning what courage he had left, he slowly turned his head. There, at the end of the hallway, stood a tall, dark figure, motionless, faceless, but undeniably human-shaped. Its outline shimmered like smoke, edges shifting and twisting. "Who are you?" Michael whispered, his voice barely audible. The figure didn't respond. It only tilted its head slightly, the same eerie motion his reflection had made earlier. Suddenly, the light bulb above him exploded with a sharp pop, plunging the room into darkness. Michael stumbled backward, groping for his phone's flashlight, his trembling fingers barely responding. The screen flashed weakly, and for a split second, it illuminated the figure again. This time it was closer, much closer, just behind him. When the light went out completely, Michael heard it whisper, right into his ear, "Don't look away." Michael couldn't take it anymore. Every light in the house was on, but it didn't matter. The shadows were everywhere. They stretched across the walls like living things, bending and shifting even when nothing moved. His head pounded. His body burned with fever, yet his skin felt ice cold. He sat hunched over his laptop, desperate for answers. He searched symptoms of high fever, hallucinations, sleep paralysis, anything that could explain what was happening. But deep down, he knew this wasn't an illness. Something else was happening, something that didn't belong to this world. A soft creak made him jump. He turned toward the hallway again. It was empty, but on the floor, near his bedroom door, he saw something small, a flash drive. He didn't remember owning one. Hands trembling, he plugged it into his laptop. Only one file appeared, 03_07_m.mp4. Michael's stomach dropped. That was the exact time he'd been waking up every night, sweating and terrified. He clicked play. The screen showed his bedroom, grainy night vision footage from his own security camera. He saw himself sleeping, motionless under the blanket. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, at 3:07 a.m., the door in the video creaked open. Someone stepped inside. Michael leaned closer, his breath catching. It was him. Same face, same clothes, same movements. But the figure in the video wasn't asleep. It was watching the version of himself in bed, standing silently for several minutes. Then, slowly, it leaned down toward the sleeping Michael and whispered something into his ear. The camera glitched, the screen flickered, and for a split second, both Michaels were gone. Then only one sat up in bed and stared straight into the camera. Michael slammed the laptop shut, his hands shaking uncontrollably. He realized the horrifying truth. The thing haunting him wasn't an intruder. It was him. By dawn, the storm had stopped. The silence that followed was unbearable, the kind that made every breath sound too loud, every heartbeat echo like a drum. Michael hadn't slept. He sat on the living room floor, knees pulled close to his chest, his phone camera recording. He wanted proof that what he had seen was real. The red recording light blinked in the dimness. "If anyone finds this," he whispered shakily, his voice trembling, "something's in my house. It looks like me. It moves like me, but it's not me." His eyes were sunken, his skin pale and clammy. Every so often, he turned toward the hallway, reacting to sounds the camera couldn't capture. A faint creak, a sigh, a whisper. The clock on the wall read 3:07 a.m., the same time he'd seen on the home camera the night before. Suddenly, the light in the hallway flickered. His phone camera caught a glimpse, a reflection in the mirror, himself standing in the darkness, grinning unnaturally wide. Michael turned sharply toward it, but no one was there. He screamed, dropping the phone. The camera fell sideways, now filming only the edge of the couch and the reflection in the mirror across the room. The reflection was still there, smiling, even though Michael was no longer facing it. Moments later, the sound of dragging footsteps echoed. then a thud. The screen showed only trembling shadows and faint breathing. Then silence. When neighbors called the police hours later after hearing the screams, they found a front door slightly open. Michael's body lay motionless near the couch, eyes wide open in terror. But his phone was still recording. The last thing visible in the final frame was the mirror, and in it, Michael's reflection still standing, smiling faintly long after his body had gone cold. And then, slowly, it raised a hand and waved.